Palace, Alan Wallace. I actually had him on a while back, a few months, and he's actually founder of Off the Chain Paranormal. Good thing is, when we had him on the show last time, we were talking about a lot of the investigations they had done, and that they had some new ones that were going to be coming up for the 2015 year. So I gave him the opportunity to come back, gave him the invitation, because everybody loved his appearance here so much that we went ahead and did that. And I have to say, it's nice enough to not only have him back, but we also have a couple of his team members. Now, he does have a large group, and I understand his wife is his co-founder, and then they have multiple other people. I'll let him introduce everybody. But tonight we're going to have team members John Sparks and Lucian DeLong, and we're going to be actually talking about the old asylum out in Arkansas. It's interesting because I did a little bit of research on this place, and many people saw when I had posted under a different name, but because of the fact, I guess, that this asylum is still owned by the state, and they don't want it called by that name, so we're just going to refer to it tonight as the old asylum. But very interesting enough, Alan went, and his team members went there. They did a video. I will be posting it on the Paranormal Connections page, along with some other groups, the actual videos, so that people can take a look at it. And definitely check it out, give him some feedback on it, give him a thumbs up on his YouTube channel, wherever we're going to do this. But definitely show him support. It's a great thing out there that, are really out there actively investigating and trying to bring forward evidence of the paranormal existence. So many of us that are in there, we already know, but, we work so hard to bring up to everybody else who doesn't believe or is just, so interested in seeing all of the evidence. So we're going to be talking about all these different topics tonight. You are more than welcome to call in with any questions, or you maybe have possibly been there or just want to share another story. You can call in tonight. Our phone number is area code 607-349-0410. I'm going to do things a little bit different tonight. Unfortunately, I had scheduled two people for the same date, and so what I'm going to do is the last 30 minutes of the show tonight, I'm actually going to be having a second guest on, which is going to be Todd Mossman. He's going to be coming on. He's a documentary producer. Did a whole mini documentary about the EVP phenomena called Breaking the Barrier back in 2008. And he's getting ready to work on an actual TV internet docuseries called The Afterlife Files. And so he's going to be talking about that. I'm going to be working with them. So we're going to be starting that out on Kickstarter here like a week or 10 days, something like that. So he's going to come on and get a little bit of information beforehand, and then I will be having him back probably sometime in the middle of February once the actual Kickstarter fundraiser started, and we'll go ahead and have him on for a full night. So with that being said, Alan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, thank you all so much, and John and Lucinda as well. I know you guys are all on the line with us tonight, and thank you so much for all of you coming on tonight. I always appreciate when I have great people on.
Well, thank you so much for having us on. It's a blast to be back.
No, awesome. Well, it's so sweet because Alan was messaging me, earlier, and it gave me such a compliment because he had said that he had been on lots of different internet radio shows, things like that, but that he, of all the shows, he really had a great time on mine the last time he was here. So definitely want to give you all a very great experience as well this time. So I hope, you guys will enjoy yourself tonight. So let's start with basic. What got you guys into going to this asylum? Is this somewhere, I guess it's near you?
Actually, it's about a 4-hour drive from us. It's kind of funny. Most of our investigations end up being 4 hours for some reason. I have no idea why. When we start out for an investigation, it's always like 4-hour drive. So, but it's about, 4 hours from us, and it's an investigation that I got into probably in 2009. Was the first time I had gone there, and it's just it's an incredible place to investigate. It's first off, it's massive. I mean, we're talking 4.5 floors here. It's just a tremendous facility. I mean, you could just get lost in there. And it closed its doors. It opened. It was constructed, I want to say, in the building itself, they started construction in 1938. They completed construction around 1940, and it closed its doors in 73. And it's still owned and maintained by the state, but it's just a massive facility. It housed over, in its existence, it had about 70,000 patients, and they employed about 600 employees. And to my estimation, something around between 9,000 and 10,000 people actually died there. And so it's the perfect stomping ground for, anything paranormal. And a lot of groups do go there. And we've been there several times. And just when you're walking the halls, when you get into the basement, where the morgue area and all that place, when it just everywhere in there has that vibe, that you like when you're investigating the paranormal. When you have that, you feel like you're being watched, and you hear things, and you hear voices, and it never disappoints. And it's just a great place to go.
Wow! And I'm actually looking at pictures, you're talking of this actual facility. And you're right. It is it's massive. Like, this is on 1,000 acres, this whole hospital and all the parts of it. And it is just massive. I mean, they've got the old hospital, and then it's got a bunch of different other buildings. But now, have you been in all the different buildings, just the old hospital?
They have various buildings a lot, on the ground that are a lot smaller. We usually go just to the main one, the mother hospital there, which is the biggest one. And, right.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, geez, that's a pretty big one. And so for a lot of patients, I guess it was actually at one point for people with tuberculosis, correct? And it's also been a sanatorium. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah, they just it's built quite a ways. It's located around Boonville, Arkansas, but it's several miles outside Boonville. And back in the day, everyone wanted that type of hospital, but they didn't want it in their back door. So it's built up. It's in the country, and it's up on the hill. And it's just it's beautiful, really, when you're driving up in that area. It's beautiful country when you're driving up there. And, you get on top of the mountain up there, you can just look through the landscape and everything. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's beautiful when you look at it. I mean, but then I've been to, a couple different sanatoriums, boys reformatory schools that we have out here, different things. And I'll tell you, they just have some really, the fact that I'm a psychic and I'm a very strong empath too, it is really hard for me to go into locations like that, because there's just I pick up so much sickness, sadness, people being abused. I mean, there's so much abuse that would go on in these kind of hospitals, whether it be an asylum, whether it be a tuberculosis hospital, whether it be a boys' school, or, a monastery, any of the, a women's hospital, or, for nuns. I mean, there's some really horrible atrocities that happen in these locations, and for me, I pick it up immediately. Now, Lucinda, did you, being a female, and I know that I don't know if you have any abilities yourself, but I know just many women have kind of that empathic side of them anyway. When you went in there, what were some of the things that you picked up on at all, if anything?
The first floor to me was rather comfortable. The upper floors of the hospital, when you got about to the third floor, I got a little unsettled feeling. To me, that looked like maybe like a segregation wing where they kept the sickest of the patients. I felt highly uncomfortable there, but my whole experience happened for me in the basement. The basement, near the morgue, I have never had a negative experience so far to date investigating with the group. And for me, this was my turning point of negativity, so to speak.
And I'll tell you, it's definitely, if you haven't experienced it before, when you do, and it's something that definitely stays with you. Because a lot of people, I think that, when they think about the paranormal, they just think, it'll just be fun going out to try to, find some stuff. A lot of people don't really encounter anything dark or with the dark past, and then when they do, and then it really hits them, it's like, wow, like this is a whole, this is something really different, and more has happened to be that way. But also I know that in a lot of hospitals, a lot of the hospitals, the higher up of the floors, they will sometimes use for, more of the mentally unstable patients, or like I said, really, really sick. But usually, like when they're isolated, especially tuberculosis, like hospital, everybody has it. So everybody that's in there has it, and so there's really no reason to isolate anybody. But you have to remember that a lot of people that got that had mental illnesses or all different types of things. So they even criminals that would get things like that, and they didn't want them in the regular jails. So they did have to like in many hospitals have an area where they can house those people. So I could see where probably, some of that is true. Now, have any of you been able to, see any of the paperwork or the plans of, when the hospital or the asylum was up and running, like what was situated where in the hospital?
As you go through the facility, they have the old paperwork and stuff that's still in the cabinets and in the shelves and stuff down there. We've looked a little bit of it, and just but it was mostly medical manuals and stuff like that. Which, ironically, John had just bought for this investigation. He had bought the Ovilus 4. And as John was walking through one of the hallways, the Ovilus 4 said manual. And just at that time, one of our special guests was Bobby. She found the medical manual just a few feet away. So that was pretty cool. But as far as like the schematics or whatever, the blueprints, we weren't able to find anything like that. Just mostly the old medical manuals and New England Journal of Medicines and stuff like that. The old stuff from the 50s and the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Well, that's not still laying around.
Interesting. That'd be interesting. I know that there's an old hospital out here that our team's getting ready to go and investigate as well. And it's kind of like that. They actually was able to go to the city, and they were actually able to kind of give me information on, where it's housed, what kind of patients, things like that. So it's, I think that just like as far as investigating, when you find like certain hot spots around, a location, a lot of times if you can find out, what type of patients were housed in those areas where there's, greater activity, a lot of times it can kind of help, kind of connect the dots. So, now, the investigation you did this recently, was it just like you just went up there one day? Was it like multiple visits that you've gone up there, or how did you kind of compile your video and your investigation?
Are you talking about the amount of times that we've gone, or
for your video that you were doing, did you take that all up this last time that you went up there?
Yeah, the video that I'm uploading a mobile copy tonight on YouTube tonight. When I got done with it, actually it's a video with 3 different parts. Lucinda's video, John's video, and mine. So I've pretty much combined 3 different videos to make this one. And the thing is, the video footage is great. But what I had to do is on this one, I went ahead and exported it to mobile copy, so a lot of people could look at it on their phones. I have a pristine copy that we'll be uploading on Facebook that people can look at. But if they just have a laptop, they just have a mobile phone or whatever, that they can get on YouTube or our Facebook page, and they can look at that. The only thing I hate about exporting to mobile devices is it does lose a little bit of the quality, which I can't. I don't like, because when we do videos, I like to be perfectionist. But it still looks very decent, very good. But it was 3 different videos. John's video, and Lucinda brought in the full spectrum camera. thing, which were kind of some latecomers to the full spectrum arena. And Lucinda and her husband John, they brought in the full spectrum color camera, which really proved to be a great asset on this particular investigation. And I'll let her talk about that a little later, because they had an incredible experience down there, and just really we're wanting to do a lot more experimentation with the full color spectrum, because it breaks into that other light, barrier that we can't see with our naked eye. And it's incredible. I actually we're latecomers to it, and it just amazed me what what we were able to pick up with it.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. We have a full spectrum as well as one of the flare cameras, and then we have another sonar camera that will actually seek out heat through cement walls.
Wow.
Heat mixtures, and it's very, very interesting. One of my team members had brought it to one of the investigations we were doing. I had never seen I knew all about the flare and the full spectrum. I've been using it for years, but this new one that was more of a sonar, like a sonar-based one that you could see through and pick up, cold spots and signatures on it through cement and through walls. Through brick. It was just absolutely amazing. It just blows me away. And I'm telling you, I do have to say, because I am one of those people that has been in the paranormal field for a very, very long time. And I am probably still more comfortable kind of the old school way, going in and, just taking my voice recorder and a camera and myself, and I can probably get more information than most people can, but, that's only because I have psychic ability, so, I can see if things are there, things will communicate with me. But I'll tell you, for bringing forward evidence, for the public, yeah, all this new technology is really great, but there's so much of it, it's like, wow, it's trying to figure it all out, like what works, what doesn't work, so there's a lot of stuff out there as well, but, it's kind of, I've tested it, it's kind of like, it's a waste of time. But, yeah, some of the bigger stuff, and it's expensive, too, so it's definitely not cheap to have the equipment. What kind of other equipment, in fact, do you guys use? Because I think we talked about this before, but you use a whole host of tools, right?
Yeah, our mainstay, we bring a 4-channel or a 4-camera DVR system that we set up, and we love it and we hate it. We love it because it captures great video, but we hate it because we run miles of cable and it takes a long time to set up and to run. Then we have all the digital recorders. We have the real recorders, the real recorders, which I like. We use the parabolic microphone, flashlights, different flashlights. We've also used we bring a Walmart plasma ball also with us. Those are the plasma balls where you plug them in, you take your fingers, and the electrodes go to your fingers, that type of thing. We use one of those a lot because for some reason, even though it's like a mini Tesla coil, it does seem to help at times when we're doing EVP sessions. I know it's probably a low level. It feeds the EMF activity I'm sure not an incredible rate, but it does help some. And I found that when we use the plasma ball, a lot of times our batteries won't get drained near as bad, which I'm sure you're familiar with at locations where you bring full charge batteries and within 10 minutes they're gone.
Well, yeah, me being a psychic, nothing electronic. I think that's kind of why I stay away from a lot of electronics. Our team has a lot of electronics that we use, but me myself, even a cell phone, I can't really handle. I blow up cell phones. They can't keep a charge. I can't wear a watch. I have, put my computer on my laptop on the fritz. I put fritz on my computer in my car. So me and electronics don't too well together.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of batteries.
Oh yeah, definitely. Anyway, we're trying different music. We're trying different areas of music to try to stimulate the activity, and we're using amplifiers, microphones. Anything that we can think of outside the box, we're definitely trying to incorporate. And like I said, just recently, John he brought in the Ovilus 4 which we've only used that probably. This was the first investigation we used that, and it said things out, and I'll let John can go into what he's talking about, but that was incredible. I mean, we would say things that was very relevant later on if we found out in the locations we were, that we were in, and then we send that in the full spectrum, of which we're getting into, and it's been great.
Yeah, it is an amazing, thing to deal with. Now, John, so you're the one that brought it to all of us, and I'll tell you that there are, people all over and teams all over the place that are now using the Ovilus. And it does seem, I've talked to a lot of people that have used it. They really, really like it. And they've really been able to get some interesting information that they're able to validate. And it sounds like that's kind of what you and your team, experienced too. But, were you kind of playing around with it and trying it out before you took it to the investigation, or was that your first go-around with everything as well?
Yeah, that was pretty much our first go-around. We just got it, and I broke it out as we were walking around. I was testing it out, turning it off and on, and it was it picked up a little, like when you first turn it on, it picked up a little bit more, and then when it varied out towards the middle of the investigation, before it turned it off, we got better evidence. But when you first turn it on, I seen there's a little, it doesn't vary the energy around very well. So that was the only hiccup I think I seen with it. But overall, it did really well. It answered a lot of the questions that we had asked with exact answers, and proved us wrong. I mean, it will definitely be taking it everywhere we go now. So
interesting. Yeah, and as I said, I even people on my team, we've got all the different, the Ovilus and Spirit Box, things like that. And yeah, it does seem like you get some really good, interaction. I know there are a lot of people still to this day that are very, skeptical about the Ovilus, but I'll tell you, I think that from what different things are out there, I think it's probably one of the better ones. I mean, I know that there's a lot of technology coming out that as quick as, people can swoop it up, and more people are creating new stuff. And I actually had Gary Brown last week, and he builds paranormal equipment. And, we were talking, and, most of the time now the orders that he gets, and actually I know a few people that build paranormal equipment, and they're getting a lot of work lately because so many people are wanting new technology, and actually Gary, he actually builds custom stuff. So what he builds, there's not two of them out there that are the same.
Right.
And, I just thought that it's very interesting. Like, do you see, maybe like in the next 5 years, do you see you guys really kind of branching out, trying more technology that comes out, or maybe even trying to have, a specific piece of equipment custom built for you and your team in the future?
I think so. I think, we're starting to branch out more. We do a lot of our investigations where, bare bones, like you were saying, but I do believe as the technology is getting there, more energy-wise, like we use our amplifier to use our music. I mean, that makes a whole new concept to paranormal, because you turn that music on, you get so many bangs and noises that you don't normally get with just sitting there without anything. So I think the world is they're getting accustomed to it. They're wanting to know more. Their curiosity level is rising, and they're wanting to see, what is actually there. So I think they will.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because again, before people were very leery about technology, the new technology. They say, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And as I said, there has been some stuff that has been put out that was a joke. I mean, you could take it out and try to use it, and it really wasn't giving you anything. And again, many of us know that we do all of our services for free. We have, our investigations, all of our equipment, everything comes out of our own pockets. So, a lot of people weren't doing that, but it just seems like if we really want to get the kind of evidence out that the public needs to see to kind of, I guess, steer them away from not believing, I think that that's probably what we're going to have to do, because, now we've got all these great pictures that are coming forward, but we've got so many people out there that have created now all these stupid apps to put ghosts in pictures and things. And I think if I see one more person post a picture saying, their kid was taking a selfie of themselves and now they've got some grunge-looking thing coming out the side of their neck, and I've seen the same, thing in an app. I'm just like, and you see all the hundreds of people that comment on these pictures, like, wow, oh my gosh, great catch. And I'm just like, really? It does such a disservice to the field. But again, wherever you've got skepticism, you're always going to have, hoaxers and people trying to go out there and turn people from not believing. So I think it'll definitely be a wave of the future of all this new technology, because it's a little bit better. Now, with all this, what kind of questions were you guys asking, and what kind of answers were you getting back?
The questions, one of the questions that really sparked our interest was, we were sitting down, we were taking a break in the break room on the first floor, and we were all sitting down, and I asked, how many people are in the room? How many people are here? And it didn't have an exact answer right after I asked it. About 5 minutes later, it told us 9. And then it was exactly how many people were sitting there.
Okay.
I mean, exactly. We were just, I dropped pushing away from I was like, wow. It blew my mind out of the 2,000, words that are on the dictionary, that it would actually, and throughout the night, I could tell you from experience, it never, very rarely said an actual number. It said more words than it did numbers. And then one time, throughout the number, it was just exactly right, and just, it blew our mind on how the technology thing. And then later on, we were down in the basement after we used just in this camera. The rest of the group had come down because we had branched off, and the obvious ended up telling us weapon entered. And one of the guys that were with us had a sidearm on his hip. And we didn't ask a question, it just said it as he was walking in the room, that there was a weapon in the room. So it was pretty ironic that, nothing was said, there wasn't a question, but all of a sudden, the obvious said weapon, boom. And he had just walked in, and I knew he had a weapon, but nobody else knew, because he had told me later on when we were walking down the hallway that he had one. And when they said that, it was just kind of like, wow. Somebody's actually, it was evident that this device wasn't, just throwing random words out there. It was actually, proving what was actually happening. So.
Wow, that's crazy. It's interesting that, you guys are trying to kind of keep a little secret going, and the spirits are, putting out there and letting everybody know, like, hey, there's a weapon, everybody.
Yeah, it's just like, right?
Gotta love it. Now, when you guys were using all this, did you get any responses that you felt like were negative, or do you feel that, like, for the most part, it was just maybe patience that, spirits still remain there, or I know that you guys saying that down in the basement it felt kind of heavy and things like that. I mean, did you feel anything dark or get any communication from anything that was kind of unnerving?
There was a couple times where the obvious ended up saying devil, and the obvious, and it said it in a different tone. Like I said, the obvious said to a different level. When it said that word, it said it in a different, verbosity. It actually, had a little growl in it too. It was like, okay. But another time it said punctured. And right after it said punctured, we were down in the basement, and we were walking around. But we did our first walkthrough, and for the investigation, and we've never seen there's a voodoo doll sitting around by the morgue.
Oh wow!
And it was one of those old what do you call it? It was a corn husk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a picture of it. And as we were walking around, we looked down, and sure enough, it was there. But the only thing about it was sitting there, but it looked like somebody had punctured the head of it. It had like a ooze that was coming out of it. So I thought it was pretty ironic. That and all of a sudden we would actually find it laying in the middle of the floor that all of us were walking through there and never said a word about it, never seen it, nothing.
That's what I was just going to ask you, because you guys have been there multiple times. This isn't the first time you've been there. Have you ever seen this voodoo doll there before in the past that you've been in there?
Mm-hmm. No, I did not. We've never seen it.
No, never. That was the first time. Yeah.
Interesting.
Go ahead. It was in the basement, and it was in the morgue area. And like John said, there was 9 of us. And the pathway that we were walking on in the floor where this doll was at, what was so amazing about it is all 9 of us had walked through there. And later, after coming home and going through my own footage, that doll was not there before. That's what kind of was a little unnerving for me, to say the least, was that I had went back through pictures and photos and footage and never seen that doll there before that, until it had said something about puncture. And then my husband had walked in front of me, and I spotted that doll on the floor. I almost had a heart attack. I told John, it literally freaked me out, because we were racking our brains trying to figure out, if maybe we had just overlooked it, stepped on it. But, we went back through and looked through the footage, and I never seen that doll. And it was one of the old-timey corn husk dolls, handmade.
Oh, what a real voodoo doll would look like. Not these little, like, cloth dolls that people sell and stuff like that.
You could tell by looking at it, but it was very, like, dry, looking like brittle. And then as soon as it said puncture, like, the head of the doll, like John said, was smashed in. And there was stuff coming out of it where the whole floor around it was completely dry. It was for me, that was just a little unnerving. And my husband jokingly was like, reach down there and pick it up. And I was like, I'm not touching it.
I don't think I would do it either.
We left it, right where it was laying, and just documented it and took photos of it. But yeah, it was a little unnerving the whole way that it transpired.
Wow, yeah, I mean, and again, obviously it is open to people. People can go in there, but I would even be worried about that too, because if people are in there, using voodoo dolls and things to conjure things up, in already a very active place, it really bothers me, because it's like, I also have a problem, like, when I go and do events and things, and they always want to have somebody do, like, a seance for everybody, and they use a Ouija board. And every place that I go to speak at an event, it always has, a haunted activity anyway. But I will tell you, I did a investigation a couple years ago back in the Los Angeles area at the Glen Tavern Inn. And it used to be, basically the people would come in, play cards there, and then upstairs was a brothel back in the old days. And so they had like a lookout, and, so if anybody came, all the girls, scattered and got hit, and, they would just act like they were just playing poker. Well, I went in there, and, we went in there, we definitely, you could tell that there was activity there, but I didn't pick up on anything negative. I, in fact, did a whole reading with the historian. I walked through the hotel and did a reading on what I got, and he was able to validate everything and information that's not even available anywhere other than, him and the hotel owner. But I left because they were doing like this award ceremony or whatever, and I don't do the whole award thing. So I went to go get something to eat with my team, and when I came back, when I walked through the door, something was different, and something was not right. Mm-hmm. And by the time that we got up, going walk into our room, the co-founder of my group, was doing like an EVP session in the hallway, and literally got attacked. And I went to go and help her, and I got attacked. And kind of funny, I was like, I don't understand how in the world I would have missed this of all, of anything. Like, I picked up on everything else. Why would I have not picked up on this? And I said, I kept getting seeing like a large group of people on a Ouija board. And when I went back downstairs and was talking to somebody, they said, oh, yeah, you missed it. And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh, yeah, they did the whole seance thing, and they used the Ouija board and everything. And so I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. So she shows me the video. Well, of course, when they were doing the Ouija board, they did not shut it down. They didn't close the portal. So whatever they did, whether they were doing it, they left it open and brought something back in there. Thing is that in a location where you have spirit activity that's very peaceful, now you've brought something in arbitrarily that can wreak havoc even with the spirits that are already there. Like, those are the kind of things I have problems with. And voodoo dolls are the same way. I mean, voodoo dolls, we all know, are used for very specific purposes. And they're definitely not things you want to, like, come in contact with or, find one and take it home with you or anything like that. But that is very interesting that you didn't see it in the other prior visitation, and the biggest...
That was laying there beside it. I kicked the bottle like 3 times prior to that, and never, once I looked down and see the bottle earlier and never even seen it.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, and now in previous times, have you guys, when you went there, have you guys all gone down into the same area? And when you've gone there in the past, have you picked up or got EVPs or similar activities in that area?
Well, as far as like activity, and there was a couple of interesting things that happened. One to Lucinda, and several things happened to Lucinda and John, but these two that stuck out in my mind quite a bit was up to this point, and we've investigated together for quite a while now. Up to this point, before this, neither one of us, none of us had ever gotten nausea or sick or scratched or anything like that. We've been touched and stuff like that, but in the basement area there again, there was one room there in the back where Lucinda, when she started to go in, when she began to get lightheaded and feel ill, and she had no, I don't remember her ever having an experience before. In that area. And then John, and I forget which floor it was when we were going in before, this was the first time he had gotten scratched. So I'll let them talk about that. But that was pretty interesting. Again, actually, it happened here, but it had not happened up to this point before.
Well, I mean, yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, since we've got both of them on the line, let's talk about that. I mean, because it's interesting that you guys have been there in other times. And, I mean, that's the whole point of going to locations where you go multiple times, because you kind of get a feel for the place and the feel for the energy of the location. So most people, especially if they've gone there many times, really can, even if they want to feel that they've got abilities or they don't, they can sense a difference, in what they're encountering. So, let's I guess, talk a little bit about that last time.
Well, if you where she got lightheaded, when you felt kind of when you were lightheaded before we were fixed to go in the basement area?
Yeah. And for me, this was the first time that I had ever investigated this location with the guys. We're new to the group. So for me, up to this point, whenever we get to a location, I kind of branch off while the guys are setting up, and I like to do a walkthrough. Usually John will go with me. I like to do a walkthrough and get a feel for the place, and I can usually pick up on which room I really want to be in, which area, which part of the place that we're investigating that I feel I'm going to spend the most time in. And as soon as I come down that flight of stairs and I hit that basement, I knew that's where I needed to be. When I first got down, there, it was just a very heavy feeling. It was like I said, it was rather unnerving. But when we entered that specific room, I got about halfway through it, and I looked at my husband and I said, "I don't like this room." And he said, "Why?" I said, "I just don't like the way it makes me feel." I told him I was a specific corner, and if he literally would not have been standing there with me, he had to grab a hold of me. And I said, "I gotta get out." I instantly began being nauseous, and I felt like what was there was literally coming at me. I knew it. I could feel it. I knew it was there, and it was just like a wall, full force that hit me. And as soon as I exited the room in that specific area, I was fine. But every time, I even tried it later on into the night, trying to go back into that room, and I just literally, physically, I couldn't do it.
Interesting. Well, I mean, just with you being on the phone, I do pick up that you are very highly sensitive. So whether that's the reason it got you into the paranormal or got you interested, as I said, a lot of women have, that kind of intuition anyway, but I feel like you have had, this isn't the only paranormal experience you got, you've had a lot of them, and, you're very sensitive to the energy and the activity around you, so it's probably, what you're picking up, and the stronger that it is, or sometimes even the more negative that it is, people like, that will really start feeling the, I guess, kind of the effects of all of it, and it will become either like overwhelming, make you nauseated. And myself, I've actually had where I've encountered spirits and they've like walked through me and I literally like passed out. It's the weirdest experience I ever had in my life. It scared the hell out of me because we actually had gotten an EVP. We were doing a home investigation, and one of the team members had gotten an EVP, stayed. It was with us long time ago when I was with another team, and it had said, get out. It was a very strong, very deep voice, and I was out in the back where they had like some horse stables, and they had this tree, and it had this like Chucky doll that had like its eyes had been gouged out, and it had been like it had like upside down, crosses on it, and it was crazy. And the people told us that was there when they moved there, so they were kind of scared of it, so they always left it there. So I went checking it out, and I decided to go back. And as I'm walking, I didn't see anything at all, which is very strange for me because I usually see everything. And so I'm sitting down, looking at my recorder, and I'm walking, and as I walk, all of a sudden, next thing I know, I'm opening my eyes, and I'm seeing everybody like above me. And are you okay? Are you all right? What's going on? What happened? And they're like, it looked like they said that I was walking, and it looked like I just like ran into something that wasn't there. But I literally felt this entity, whatever it was, literally walk completely through me. And like I said, it dropped me to my knees, and I was out cold. And they said I was out for about 3 minutes. They're about to call the ambulance, and I had like people on the team that were crying when I woke up because they'd never seen anybody affected that greatly by it. But
right.
It is important that people who are very sensitive to energy. Kind of activity from any location. Let the other people go and do it. You made the exact right decision. You kept trying to go down there and, see that you kept feeling the same way. And, that's exactly why you have a lot of different team members. So sometimes, people who are a lot more sensitive to all this stuff, can't do those areas that the other team members can. And a lot of times just the information that we, as sensitives receive can actually help a lot in the investigation. But you said this is the first time that you had actually been there with them, correct?
Yes.
So that's interesting. Now, John, or did any of you guys actually, you two guys feel anything dark or anything like that when you guys were down there?
Yeah, it's about the third or fourth time I've been there. Each time we've gone, I've talked about it. I felt, the uneasiness of, people watching, and nothing's ever, I've heard a bunch of noise, I've heard a bunch of talking. This time when we walked in there, something was different. And especially in the basement, and I do believe it was on the second floor, when we were walking around, and Lucinda had just told me, we walked around the back area, and she just told me she heard a growl. So, I stepped up to the door front, I wasn't even in the door, in the room, and, I've never been scratched forever. I've always, second-guessed everything that's ever happened.
Right.
But, when I was standing perfectly still, had the August in my hand, didn't have a jacket on, I didn't have a jacket on. And I was standing there, and all of a sudden, it just felt like somebody's taking a cigar and slowly get closer and closer to my neck. And, I actually, it went on for about a minute or two before I was like, I turned to everyone, I was like, is there something on my neck right there? And sure enough, there wasn't nothing there besides, there's a red mark from where I was getting burnt. But that room right there, that end of the area, was a little bit more uneasy than it usually is. And it was interesting because I never got that feeling there. I knew something was there, but I never got that negative feeling from the place. Seems like every time I've gone here lately, it gets a little bit more intense. I don't know if I'm just getting warmer on where I needed to be in trying to locate, but every time I've gone, it's getting a little bit more potent. And then down in the basement, we get set up at the parabolic mic, and we're just sitting there pitch dark because her camera had gone off. And I was just sitting there, and, I mean, you can feel there's people just walking around. You can hear them just walking. And all of a sudden, I get this burst of air in my face, and I'm just, and I let go of the parabolic mic, and, I heard a noise as I let go of it. And I was just like, just numb. I couldn't move. It took me about a minute to actually say, did you hear that? Did you feel that? Type deal. And it was very, very uneasy in those two areas more than what I remember as we've been there. But it was a very interesting experience, to say the least.
Interesting. Now, is this place, is it open to the public? Like, can anybody go and check this place out if they want to, or do you have to get, like, special permission, or how does that work?
Well, basically, it's not advertised at all whatsoever. If anyone wanted to contact me on AIDS, then I could get back with them and give them a call number of a contact that they can get with to schedule an investigation there. But it's not advertised. Whatever other paranormal groups, a lot of other paranormal groups do go there, and like I say, it's just not an advertised thing. Everybody knows pretty much who to contact. But if anybody wants to remember, just contact me on Facebook, and I can get with them and get contact information.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. Like when the state usually, or the city or whatever owns the property and the building, they usually won't. And like they'll let people go and investigate, but it's usually kind of like a hush-hush thing. Like they don't want a whole bunch of people, going into becoming like a tourist attraction. But, it's very interesting. And a very good example is exactly what you guys are talking about how you've been there multiple times. And, you didn't feel unnerving, you didn't feel, anything negative, but now you go back this time. Like, did you guys come up with any theories of what may have changed?
Well, I mean, we haven't actually had the time to sit down and discuss what could have transpired that made it change, other than I think we're probably in the general consensus that since we did see this cornhusk doll that was very well made, and they are used in a lot of voodoo or occult rituals, that I'm just want to say we probably think that at some point there had to have been a group, maybe, or someone come through there and maybe do some occult practices and stuff, which I'm seeing, and I'm sure you are too, I'm seeing a lot more paranormal locations become a magnet for occultists and that type of thing.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to say that too, because the whole time that we've been talking about this, like that's exactly what I keep seeing, is like a group of like 4 people, like a small group, doing some stuff. So that was kind of why I was just wondering if you guys had any theory on it. But that is something that, we're seeing a lot too, that, satanic cults, different groups, that are, of all different backgrounds, are kind of searching out these locations, and a lot of times for what they're doing, I mean, they want all of that energy. So, I mean, but again, just like I was telling you about the Glen Tavern, going and doing things like that, it's just so moving to me, because being a psychic, although I help a lot of my human clients, my biggest thing is to help the spirits that are trapped here or needing help. And especially when you find hospitals and, mental hospitals, asylums, cemeteries, anything like that, there's just so much just sadness and torment, and a lot of these people don't realize they're dead, or they realize they're dead and they don't know why they're still there, and why they, nobody can see them or what's going on. And to be able to help those spirits, like, cross over or whatever they need, to me is, like, the most rewarding. Now, to see people going in and doing, different occult practices and conjurings and things like that, again, I know that they're going there specifically to do that, but it just amazes me to know, and because I've seen so many locations that because of these kind of, activities, the spirits that are already tormented that are there are now, like, doubly tormented, or almost kind of like they feel like they're held captive.
Exactly. Right.
And that really, to me, bothers me. Now, here's the thing. Have you guys had any psychics in your group, or any psychics in your area that, have gone out to the location with you ever?
No, we haven't had any psychics that's attended with. Not that we would be opposed to that. We haven't we haven't had any go with us to that location with us personally and go out there. When I was with Casper, when I first started with them, I was with a group called Casper, and the director is Karen Schilling. That group did have a gentleman who was he you could call him a psychic, but he preferred to be called a sensitive. But he was very in tune. When we went to a location, he would tell me to take a photograph in this room, and I would. Yeah. Glowing orbs would show, or he'd say, "Well, this room's no good. This room's no good. I'll take a picture here." And every time he would do that, I could take some incredible pictures, and I saved a lot of time. His name was Billy, and I'd be like, "Billy, what about this?" I was bugging him to death. And what about this, Billy? What about this, Billy? And I would just smile at him. It was like like when you flip on a porch light at night, and the insects just come to light. I was just like that. He was just, could lead me to the best places. We haven't had one go to this location with us. It would really be, it would be an awesome experience. It really would.
Yeah, the only problem is that, to be absolutely honest, like, nowadays, it is so hard to find somebody who truly is a psychic. Right. Because I don't know what the hell, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but, my whole life I've had these abilities, and I've hidden them from everybody up until the last 12 years when I finally decided to come out and start, investigating publicly and talk about my abilities. But now first it was like the doors flew open for everybody to want to be a paranormal investigator, and then everybody wanted to be a psychic, and now everybody claims they're a demonologist, and it's just, I feel like it's so hard, and it's hard enough having psychic abilities and people even believing, that you have them. But now you've got all these people who are actually faking psychic abilities or cold reading or things like that just to try to get some attention in the paranormal. So, it is kind of like hard, but it might, if you were able to, it might be something very interesting for you to kind of look into, because if you could take somebody who had never been there, right, take them through, see what they pick up, and see if they have the same reactions, pick up the same things in the same areas that you guys are picking things up. It would be interesting, like about the voodoo doll, if it was there or wasn't there anymore, if she picked up on something, if the person picked up on something like that or not, whether it's a female or male psychic. But it might be something interesting, to look into.
Yeah, that would be great, and we would definitely be up for that for sure. That would just be incredible. It would be an incredible investigation, and just to see what can happen with that.
Absolutely, and actually, maybe I will have to see it yet. I've got a lot of events all over the U.S. this year, so I'll have to check my event list and see if I'm out anywhere in that area. I mean, I'd love to come out there. I actually know, a few people out in your area, and people have been trying to get me to go out there and investigate and check it out for years. And I just never made it that way. But never know. Maybe I'll make it out there, and I'll be able to, go out there with you and see what we could get.
Yeah, please call us. We would love it. That would be incredible,
Well, that'd be great. Now, so as far as like the hospital, like, what are your plans? Are you still planning on continuing to go there, continue to research there?
Absolutely. This last investigation was there were so many firsts. So we've investigated numerous places. But this last investigation that we did there were so many firsts that particular night, and like I said, the mood was different. And the one that was the big first for us here, at one point during the night, I asked Lucinda and her husband John if they would go down into the basement just by themselves. And the rest of the team members and our special guests, we stayed in the break room and just let them go by themselves down in the basement. And I'll let Lucinda tell what happened down there. But we captured some great footage before. We captured, great pictures and stuff like that. We've got a great, a lot of evidence. But this was the first time that we had captured using Lucinda's full spectrum camera. This is the first time that we were able to capture an entity on film. And I'll let Lucinda tell what happened there. But this really, when I got back and looked at the footage, I had to change the resolution. On investigations, you wished you'd put more light here. You wished you'd have given more light here. And, so, it's just, you capture what you capture when you capture it, but it was still great. I changed the resolution so we could see it better. When we were able to change the resolution and brighten it up a little bit, you could see the entity in the film, and I was just shaking. I couldn't believe it. But let me let Lucinda tell what happened down there, because it was, everyone was accounted for. The only two people in the basement at that time were Lucinda and her husband, and I just let her go from here.
Alan had asked us to go downstairs, so I had my husband, per se, be my cameraman, and he carried the full spectrum down, and we had it placed on a tripod in the corner of a room right directly across from the morgue. It was the room, like I said before, I had done a walkthrough. To me, that was the most prevalent area that I wanted to be in. I felt that I needed to be in that room. I can't really explain that, but I felt a certain pull to a certain area. And I went to it initially the first time that I went down there. It was kind of a double-edged sword for me, the basement was. I felt like I needed to be there. I wanted to go down there, but at the same time, I didn't want to be in that room. But my husband kept seeing something there at the corner of his eye. And I kept watching. We were sitting in total darkness, and all I had on was the full spectrum with my phantom light. And I kept feeling people in front of me. And I felt like they were walking towards me. And I could tell you exactly where they were, how far away from me they were, but I just could not see them with my naked eye. And out of the corner of our left eye, we seen movement. And he said, "Did you see that?" And we actually saw this dark shadow figure with the naked eye, and it was just standing in the corner. So I began directing questions at it and, asking it, because as soon as I made contact with this thing, I knew that it was not positive in any manner. It was completely and absolutely negative. You could just feel it. When it entered the room, it was the whole atmosphere in the room just changed. Your hair stood on end. I got a really uneasy feeling, like I needed to physically back up and put some distance in between me and it. But I had asked it several questions, and like Alan said, you could see it walk across the light, and it actually blocked the light out on the camera as it walked through. And it just kind of stood there and observed us for a little while. And after that, I went back upstairs, and I've done several investigations with the group and never really had to physically take a break. And I found that at this particular location and in the basement itself, like I said, it was a double-edged sword for me. I wanted to be down there investigating, but at the same time, it was the first place that had actually kind of scared me a little bit. I picked up on that negative energy, so I would have to go outside. And I took several breaks, got really thirsty, and we were investigating it, and, it just drains you. But the second time that I went down there, I took Alan's Ovilus 4 with me. And it just kept picking up, and it just kept saying negative things. Everywhere else in the whole building, we were pretty much getting names and words and, things that were relevant to what we were doing. As soon as I would put this thing in my hand, it would go off like crazy. And, it would just start repeating words, 9 or 10 of them at the same time, and they were all negative. Wow. We had walked through with a group, all 9 of us, to the back side of the staircase and had entered the basement again as we were doing, several walkthroughs through the facility. As soon as my feet touched the bottom of that staircase and I rounded the corner to the basement, and this was a completely different area, the Ovilus instantly just lit up and it started saying devil and just, negative, completely negative words. There was like 9 or 10 of them in a row. At that same time when it went off, I felt something, like you said, it was like a rush. And it just came at me, and it literally scared the crap out of me. I bet I jumped 2 feet off the ground. My husband was racing. I screamed, and it was just like it took my breath away. Mm-hmm. And, it just hit me full force, and it just seemed like every time I entered that basement, it was all over me like white on rice for some reason. And it just, and at one point in time, when we were in the morgue, it was me and my husband and John, and right when we seen that cornhusk doll, this was actually before the doll appeared. We were doing an EVP session, and I was sitting in the chair, and I seen something run from the right side of the room to the left side of the room. I didn't get it on camera. We seen it, my husband and I seen it with the naked eye. Well, it was about, I want to say it was about 2.5 feet tall maybe, and it was like a dark thing, but it crawled at a very high rate of speed from one side of the room to the other side of the room.
Did you see the eyes or anything?
I could not see no eyes, but I could tell you how tall it was and what kind of shape that it took. It started out like upright and running and then went to like all fours. It wasn't an animal. We would have seen an animal or heard an animal. But I seen it go from the right side to the left side, and I instinctively looked at my husband and I said, this is where most of the activity is going to be, is in this basement. I just got that negative feeling all night long. I ended up later on in the night not really wanting to go back in there. Alan actually, we had a conversation, and, I really wanted to go back to get some more evidence, but just had that feeling like I just didn't want to go back down in there. I told my husband, I said, I will go back down there, and I will take the equipment and everybody else with me, but I am not going back until you get my Bible. I carry my Bible with me everywhere I go. It's in my vehicle. Good. So my husband went towards the vehicle to get the Bible, and I still got my John's Ovilus 4 in my hand. Instinctively, it starts going off, and it starts saying words like sanctuary. So I start getting words through the Ovilus that pertains to what I was talking about with the Bible. So I thought, we're going to sit down there and we're going to see what happens. Because at this point, I felt like there was just a negative presence down there, and we wasn't getting any feedback or any information from any other entities, because I felt like this particular one was dominating the room, and it was just scaring the rest of them away. I took the Bible down there, and I got John back down there with me. That's when he had the parabolic microphone. And we started out with the Lord's Prayer. I had my husband read the Lord's Prayer, and then we started just randomly reading verses. And I started asking, did you attend a church when you was alive? And, do you believe in religion? And we would get words through the Ovilus like altar and prayer. And that was the second time through the whole night we got a number, which we got the number 3, which, signifies the Holy Trinity. And it just, as soon as we started reading, it got, before that, as soon as I entered the room with that Bible in our hands, it was a very heavy feeling. And whenever we started reading it, it was so profound for me, because it was like a weight had been lifted out of the room. Whatever the negative thing that was there, I believe it took y'all and ran, because it didn't want to be part of it.
Right.
And then on camera, on camera, when I got back upstairs, I got to look at my full spectrum footage, and I kept telling Alan, you know, I felt like there was people standing in front of me. And you can see the shadows on the full spectrum footage of people standing in front of me. And they were of a lighter color on the full spectrum. And as soon as that dark into the entry of the room, they just fled. And I mean, I could feel it. But I felt so much better to me after I brought that Bible down there. I felt like I had given some closure, not only to them, but to myself, by, you know, maybe temporarily ridding him of that space. Whomever that was, whether it had been human or non-human, I'm not saying that it was, but I just got that negative presence from it. And that was the first investigation that I've been on with these guys that I really it was really a profound experience for me as far as negativity and kind of facing the fear of being in the presence of something negative and learning how to deal with it and what kind of tools work best in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's a great, you know, thing that you bring about. But now, do you and your team do any kind of, like, protection prayers and things like that before you start your investigating?
You know, we're going to do a lot more of that because it seems like the more we investigate, and you know this as an investigator, the more we investigate, it seems like the more intense it gets starting to become, you know?
Yes.
And as time goes by, and you know, when we started out, it was all, you know, hugs and titty benders kind of. But as you as the years, as you start to progress in the investigations, it just gets to get more intense. And this was probably the most intense one we've had to date. And I said, we've been in many locations. And on Lucinda's very first night, we went to the theater and we had activity all night long. So the activity was great, but it wasn't a real dark, you know, sinister type of thing. This really was, and it showed evidence of it all night. You know, so yeah, we're definitely going to do some, start getting into more protection prayers. I personally, myself, I wear, my wife, Janine, when she comes, we wear a cross-type necklace, with the body of Christ on it. I was told by a psychic, a couple of years ago that's really a good thing to hang and to wear. And, so we're going to definitely try to do some more protection in that area because, like, you know, as we're going around, it's getting more intense. I mean, I like it. You know, it's a two-edged sword. I like it because it's getting intense, but also you have to guard against the danger from it too.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say because it is true. So a lot of people who get into this field, you know, they just do some very small investigations, things like that, and you know, it's more than gaining evidence. They don't really interact or find anything dark. But one trend that I have seen, you know, especially like over the last few years, is that a lot more teams are encountering locations as well as clients that are having actual real negative activity. So it is something that's very interesting. You know, I work with actually, not only do we help, like, you know, train teams and teach them about, you know, all of the equipment and how to use it, but I also mentor, you know, children and teen psychics and adults too and their parents. But that's one of the first things that, you know, I tell investigators is that, you know, if you're going to be investigating, you really do need to have some way of protecting yourself. Now, the thing is that now in my group, we are a very eclectic group. We all have, you know, there's different races, different religions, different backgrounds, belief systems. You know, we've got skeptics, we've got psychics, we've got a little bit of everything in our group. And for many years, people would tell me, I don't know how in the world that could even work, you know, because you guys aren't all Christians and, you know, you don't believe this, you believe that. But I will tell you, the belief in a creator, and I don't, you know, whatever name you want to call it or whatever belief system you do, it is the intent that you have when you go there. And if you're all going for a positive intent, then, you know, that is very powerful, you know. And that protection is one thing that, you know, groups, even very, you know, experienced groups, seem to leave out. And, you know, I'm glad that the experience that you all had is one where you guys were not hurt or not attacked, or even worse, you know, something attaches to you Because you could, that negative thing could get pissed off because, she had ran it out with the Bible and you guys, say Bible verses, and could decide to attach to her and follow her home and wreak havoc in her home and with her family. And we see that happen over and over and over. I have lots of teams. I will tell you, I've consulted with multiple teams that have started out investigating and then become a client. And, it's just that the thing is that we are dealing with the unknown. And so really in this business, if you don't have anybody to teach you, you kind of, it's a trial and error thing. And so obviously you run into some bad stuff and then you learn, what to not do the next time and try to make it better. But because, we all have families, and this is our passion, we do want to help, we do want to investigate, we do want to bring the truth forward, it is most important that we protect ourselves and our team members against anything like that. And you can do it, there's all kinds of different things that you can do. Like a lot of people will, say some kind of protection prayer, whether, ask, whether you're asking God, angels, spirit guides, whatever it is that you believe in, if you ask them to surround you, and protect you, not let anything hurt you, things like that. And always at the end of an investigation, before you leave, again, you want to make clear that anything that is there must reside, must stay there. It cannot follow you home or go with you.
Right.
The thing is, and that is something that people forget to say.
Exactly.
Also, like for you, having a cross is great. A lot of times that will maybe help you keep you from being maybe scratched or attacked. Also, like if you have St. Benedict medallions, those are great. I would tell you, I've got a whole bunch of them. And if I can even send you a few because I got a bunch of them. But whatever it is that you do, you should do it as a team together, or whoever's going to be there, whether it's your whole team or just a few of you. Stand in a circle, say your prayer, your protection prayer. Envision yourself covered in a white light, engulfed in a white light, to keep you protected. And then again, do the same thing at the end. And no matter what you interact with, that should keep you much safer than if you're going out there with nothing.
Exactly.
Especially if you're going to change, in this place now. And if what has happened that I think has happened there, I kind of feel that the more that you go back there, the more intense it may become.
Right. Since we have really since they changed in this location, 2015 here now, we've got some other great investigations that we're going to be doing this year. But our immediate plans is to go directly back to where we were, back to the sanatorium down in the basement, and put a complete 360 video, audio, laser grid, whole thing, and see what we can come up with.
Awesome. Awesome.
Go back to Richmond, and just, lay I'm willing to get some more full spectrums that I like. We've got the GoPro walk-arounds, and just the small recorders, the digital recorder, and the laser grid, and see if we can just see if we can get to really, really get capture this thing intensely this time or something. As I know, you can go back, you can have a great location, you can have a great investigation location, come back and do the exact same thing, and nothing will happen.
You get nothing, yeah, absolutely. But I don't really think that that's going to happen here. I really do. I'm, to be absolutely honest, the feeling that I get, especially, I don't even know what I want to say, but I think that it's definitely going to be a little bit more intense if you go back. I think the fact that when Lucinda did the bringing had her husband bring the Bible, and you guys were all saying verses and things, it did shoo it away, but I think that it kind of pissed it off too.
Right.
So and again, we're in a field that, this is what we deal with, that we're aware of this. So, that kind of information would never, deter me from going back. but it would just definitely make me be a little bit more proactive about, when you go back, about protecting yourself.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, John was scratched the last time, and his student became ill. So, there are concerns, when we go back, if anything more intense could happen. Of course, that, like you just said, that's the nature of the beast, and it wouldn't deter us in any way. We would definitely be more cautious this next time as we re-enter. And, I said this time, just see if we could do a 360 video audio thing on this, and, hopefully we'll have it set up where if any line it crosses, we should be able to pick it up on any given camera, hopefully. So that's the plan. Yeah. So, hopefully we can get that accomplished, get that in there, and,
Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to hearing more about it, and I'm really going to try to do what I can. I'd love to come out there and check that out. One thing I would, like to just let your team know as well, too, if anybody on your team, when you're about to go and investigate, is not feeling well, or is, sick, or experiencing headaches or anything like that, it would be best for them not to go to the investigation.
Right.
Because, again, another thing that people don't understand is when they're not feeling well, or they're not 100% in their health. And, many people in this field will, testify to this. After many years of investigating this stuff, their health team seems to take a turn for the worse. And they're diagnosed with all kinds of crazy things, just like I am. And I, myself, here I am, this big counselor of everybody, telling everybody the right and wrong things to do, and I'm great at giving advice, suck at taking it. So, I'll tell everybody, you don't want to go out when you're not feeling well, up to 100%, and then there I'm at, I'm right there doing it. And I've really, even myself this year, have really had to step back and miss a lot of cases and investigations because of that. Because I was so stubborn about just so wanting to go and get the evidence that this is the kind of stuff that would happen to me. So, I just, that's the other thing I would say to you guys is just, be mindful of protecting yourself, and also be mindful that if anybody's not feeling well, because if there is anything negative, that person who's not feeling well or not 100% will absolutely be the person who will become the target for the night.
Oh, wow.
We see it happen over and over and over, which is one of the reasons, why I kind of stopped, had to take a break for a while, going because I was sick every time I would go on an investigation, I would end up so sick, for weeks, end up in the hospital, all different kinds of things. So, it's something that's really important. But I think that it's in most teams that they kind of follow those, rules. You can pretty much go and investigate and keep your team safe and still get the evidence that you want.
Well, I was going to ask you this since you're a psychic. It's been several years ago, but there was a psychic told me when we were gearing up for investigation, we were fixing to go to this location, and the psychic told me, they said, well, they know you're coming.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask you, is that true? Do they already know you're coming before you arrive?
Well, normally the first time, no. The first time, they're just as curious with you as you are with them.
Right.
But when you're returning, when they know you're going to keep coming, oh yeah, they know. They know. Right. And that's the bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing. If you just have just human spirits that are just wanting your help or just very eager to interact, that's great. Because you want that. But again, if you've got something that's dark, or and even a human spirit can be very dark at times. Because I have to remind people that dark shadows and all these things do not mean anything demonic or anything like that, scary names or voices. It doesn't necessarily mean any of that. We have humans that are, horrible people. And then they die and, they don't cross over and then they're stuck in there just as mean and ornery as they were when they were living. So, but for most investigators, because they can't visually see them, they can't tell, the difference of what's going on or what's happening. But on either either case, the best thing to do is, again, make sure that your health is up to par when you're out investigating, and that you protect yourself and your team. And I mean, that's my biggest advice to every team and people that I deal with. And for those people who follow those really two key things, whether they know you're coming or not, a lot of times the familiarization of the fact that you've been there many times will then slowly allow a lot of the spirits that are more pulled away to start coming and interacting with you, giving you some actual names, and when you go back, interacting with those same spirits.
Right.
So, and I think that the guy, whatever's dark there, because I just see, all I see it is like a big, like, shadow mask type of thing, and he's just kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you guys did was just run him out of that location, but.
Right.
I think that you guys will encounter him again. But best thing to do is just not have any fear about it. I know it kind of throws people when they experience this kind of stuff, because it is unnerving, especially like when it happens out of nowhere, and you're kind of startled by it all. But again, you take this and you use that and for the future to come like, okay, I know what's going on. I get what's happening here. You're not going to stop me from going there. I've got stuff to do. I'm going to go and get what I need. And I think you guys will be absolutely fine. Well, I need to cut the show. I just looked, and boy, our time is already almost out. But I do want to give you guys a minute to be able to give your contact information, where they can find your group, if they want to contact you, how to best contact you, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, email, whatever.
Oh, okay. Our Off the Chain Paranormal, we have a Facebook page, and we have a great photo section, and a lot of our videos are in the album section there in the photo section. And if you want to contact us, just contact us by Facebook, or if you want to send us an email, it's Off the Chain Paranormal at yahoo.com. And can I give a shout out, Christina, to a new group starting out in our area?
Of course.
We have a new group starting out in our area. It's out of Batesville, Arkansas, and their name is the Entity Seekers of Batesville. And they are a young dynamic group starting out, and I think they're going to do really, really well. And all the best of luck to them.
Absolutely, and all the best to that group. And it's always nice to be able to have a group like Alan's, where even being in a group, that they can come and talk to you, and you have to have questions or want to have some kind of a interaction with you to get an idea of what's going on or what they should do and different things. It's always great for me to see the unity between groups. I know I keep saying this, people hate that they hear paranormal unity, but I'm old school. I still believe in it, and I still utilize it, and I try to really help not only experienced investigative teams and investigators, but also the new ones, because hey, the new blood is what we need.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much to not only you, Alan, but to John and Lucinda. Also, thank you so much for all of you for the work that you're doing, coming and sharing it with all of my listeners. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate you. We thank you for your time.
Hey, of course. And anytime, you guys have, I know you guys have a lot of locations that you're going to be working on this year. So, you get another location done, feel free to call me, Alan. I'd love to bring you on the show again. You guys always have an open invitation.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. It's about 7:23 right now. So, actually, Pacific Standard Time. We're going to take a quick, short break, probably a few minutes, and we're going to call our next guest, and we will be right back for the last 30 minutes of the show. So hang on right there. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, everybody, we are back. Thank you so much for waiting around where we got our next guest on, and we will go ahead and continue the show from here. Again, I just want to say thank you to my previous guests from Off the Chain Paranormal. Always great to have them here, and always have such interesting things. But as I said at the beginning of the show, I wanted to give the last half hour to my guests. There was a scheduling conflict, and I felt really bad, so I wanted to at least have my next guest on the show for the last part of the show tonight so that we could kind of talk about what he's working on. My guest is Tom Moster, and he's actually contacted me a while back ago. He is out of Los Angeles area, and he's with Moster Legal Placement, and contacted me due to this Kickstarter program that they're going to start. You know, Todd actually is a documentary producer, and he's actually done a whole mini documentary series about the electronic voice phenomena. It was called Breaking the Barrier back in 2008, and it's actually kind of pushed him forward, and he's decided that he wants to start working on a new TV, internet kind of docuseries, and it's going to be called The Afterlife Files. And in order to do this, because again, people think that, you know, it's just a very simple thing and people can go out and make a show, and there's so much that is involved in it. And so tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about that and what the whole premise of what he's going to be doing, what it's about. And then I'm going to bring Todd back on in February, probably in a few weeks, and we will see how the whole campaign's going. But we really need everybody's help. I mean, last week I think we had close to 90,000 live listeners. It grows every single week. I love you guys. And, you know, the biggest thing is us sticking together, helping and supporting each other, you know, to bring forward the evidence that, you know, we work so hard to bring forward. So I don't feel that this is any different. I think this is such a great idea of what Todd is doing. So I, like I said, wanted to make sure to get him on at least for a short period of time tonight. So, Todd, are you there?
I am. Thanks, Christina.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I at least could get you on for, you know, a short period of time, because I felt like it was really important. I know your Kickstarter campaign is going to be starting in like 9 days or something. It's like January 28th.
That's right, on January 28th, so 9 days to go.
Yeah, now your fundraising goal is actually $500,000. And I know people kind of just go, oh my God, are you kidding me? But it didn't surprise me when I talked to you, because I actually know a lot about this stuff, and it's very expensive to do all of this and to produce something like this. So why don't we talk a little bit about, you know, what the campaign is about, what this new internet docuseries is going to be about, the Afterlife Files, and what people can expect and how they can help.
Well, great. I appreciate that. Yes, and the Afterlife Files is sort of like a combination of a cutting-edge scientific expedition to fully explore the electronic voice phenomena and instrumental transcommunication. So the claims that there are voices that can be recorded and images that are recorded of the afterlife, and a documentary TV series or internet series that documents the whole process. And what's exciting about it is that we're going to start with, if we get our funding, and we'll talk about that, I know, we're going to start with recruiting some of the best paranormal investigators, mainstream scientists, a few diehard skeptics, perhaps some families who have lost loved ones and are seeking to contact them again. They're going to be part of a key design group that is going to have the mission of designing the most comprehensive, groundbreaking examination of EVP ever undertaken. And the TV part of the show is going to document the whole thing, the process of creating the experiments, doing the experiments. We're going to profile some of the people involved. For example, some of the most experienced paranormal investigators who have gotten EVP voices go to haunted locations. They're ghost hunters and paranormal investigators like you, Christina. So I would expect that from time to time we're going to be going to haunted locations as well, away from the main laboratory that I'm expecting that we'll have as sort of the centerpiece of everything we'll be doing. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the Afterlife Files is all about.
Well, that's actually very interesting because, you know, the EVP phenomena for years has been something that has truly amazed people. The clarity, especially when you get Class A EVPs. And now with some of the technology that's available out there, I come across it, and you and I talked a little bit about this over the phone, but I have met so many people in the field that, are very, very interested, and we've, dabbled in the, playing the EVPs backwards to get information and just all kinds of different things, and it's amazing what's available. So I definitely think that, people love to see these kind of shows, but especially when it has something to do with communication, because that's what really, people love the stories, but they really like to see the proof of communication.
I think that's right, and I think that's what's so attractive about EVP is that to a lot of people, because it's not just like going to a medium, although a lot of people believe very strongly in mediums and people are psychic, but even mediums have told me that if they're exploring evidence of the afterlife, they want something that they can see and hear, because we've all been brought up sort of in a scientific culture. It's just part of our upbringing, right, in the United States. And I was born in the late 50s, so the space age coincided with my youth. And the beauty of electronic voice phenomena, if it's really something that shows an afterlife, is that it's concrete evidence. You've got a recording, you can replay the recording, you can send it to forensic people. If you have a video image, instrumental transcommunication, you can also have it examined by forensic people. You can be very careful about the equipment that you assemble and the conditions. You can make sure that everything is very controlled. So that's where I think EVP and ITC are different from some of the other areas of paranormal inquiry, because it combines our love of science with many people's love of the paranormal, and everybody's wondering what really happens to us after we die. I mean, that's the one universal thing, death, that will affect every single one of us. And I know there are a lot of religious people out there and people of faith, but I know even people of faith wonder sometimes what's going to happen when they die. This is just the biggest secret and the biggest mystery in the world, and we aim in the biggest scientific way to crack the secret if we can for our viewers.
Right. I think it's amazing. I mean, even for me, and I do have psychic abilities, and I am a psychic medium, and, I can tell people things all day long, and they'll say, okay, that sounds good, but it's when they get that validation, and so when you have, all the different ways to validate what, a psychic medium is saying, whether it be, pictures, video, audio, things like that, that's what people, really adhere to. So, they're really fascinated by all that. And so I think that it's going to be absolutely a great type of show, much different than what's out there, and I think that's what makes it so unique. And I know that you were talking about not only trying to get this on, on an actual television network, but even if you didn't go that route, because I know that it's kind of hard to get new shows into networks, but if you didn't, you were talking about, the internet, and there's so many with Roku and all the different platforms that are available now on the internet and through streaming on your TV, that might actually be a platform that you look into as well, correct?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what we're doing by using the Kickstarter platform is something that's pretty much totally new. I mean, it's only been around for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, which is instead of going to a small number of very wealthy, say, production companies or cable channels, instead we're going to the wider public, people who are excited about the paranormal, and people make pledges just like they do, say, for a public TV fundraising campaign. And so unlike the way some entertainment productions go, where you go and you shop it around and everybody gives a little bit of money maybe, but they also change it and they impose their own sort of requirements on it. Instead, if we can raise our budget, we can make the kind of show that we want to, and we've committed to making one season, 13 half-hour episodes, and it'll be hopefully the quality that we want it to be, and then we'll have our choice. We can either broadcast it over TV, over cable, or, as you said, Roku is great, anything over the internet. There are just so many ways that we can do it, and we look forward to it. That'll be an exciting time for us when we're done.
Well, absolutely, and the thing is like with networks, and that's great and everything with the U.S., I know like with my listeners, and I have a following all over the world. And a lot of times, I see such a huge, appreciation and fascination with the paranormal, overseas, all around, the country. And they love this stuff, but they don't get a lot of these shows that are on TV. And so anytime, I've been, involved in different things. They'll say, oh, well, we'd be able to watch it in Canada. We'd be able to watch it in the UK. We'd be able to watch it in Australia. So I think that the whole Roku and the Internet platforms are actually a great idea, because it is. I don't think people really understand, like, really how hard it is to get a show on the network.
Right.
I mean, it is pretty tough. And then once you kind of hook up with the network, you kind of lose a lot of the control over what you want to do.
That's true, and I've known people for decades who told me, say, 2 decades ago, that they just had a green light on a show, and the show still hasn't been made.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a very difficult process, and I figured I'm getting to the age now where I have more than enough gray hairs, and if I could avoid a few more, and yet at the same time communicate worldwide through the channels that are now available, I can't think of a better way to go.
Absolutely. And this is something that kind of helps all of us. I mean, this is something, I see so many investigators and talk to them, and one of the biggest things that they have a problem with paranormal TV is it is so fake. I hate to say it, but it really is. It is for entertainment. I don't care how much you want to call it a reality-based show or, all of that. It is, they do multiple takes on certain things to get the right look, to get the right, angle and expressions and everything. And so much is cut out and you don't see. And, but they are a big hit. So, for people who are actually investigators, not just, people who like the paranormal, people who are actually out there in the field doing the work, they are very disappointed by the shows that have been out there. And it really doesn't show what we really want to be, shown to the public about what we do and the importance of what we do and the evidence that we bring forward. So I think that by doing what you're doing, I think that is absolutely a great idea. I really do.
And I appreciate that. And that really made me think of my main reason for getting into this area of research and trying to bring this show to the public, which is obviously the idea of an afterlife, that when we physically die, when our loved ones die, that their personalities continue, is an amazing concept. And people have been exploring EVPs for many years and getting images, and yet it really hasn't gotten into the mainstream culture yet. A lot of people just don't believe it. But if, perhaps, at some point there was scientific, approved mainstream scientific evidence of life after death, that there's another plane of reality out there that's invisible but as real as, say, electrical energy or magnetism or gravity, then I think we would have a world-changing event, and the world would be changed for the better. And that's really, I think, what's driving me, and I think what drives you and a lot of people who are in the paranormal area. It's you want to assure people about themselves and their loved ones, and you want to make some positive changes. And I think this could be a transformative event for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Now, so the 500,000, again, people look at that amount or hear that amount and they think, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It's actually not that large of a budget. I mean, for what you're trying to do, because not only do you have to get, go to the locations, the equipment, it's not cheap, for sure.
You are so right. And when we were creating the Kickstarter campaign, and under Kickstarter rules, the amount of money that you're choosing to raise through Kickstarter, it's very important because you have a certain period of time for your campaign. Ours is going to be 40 days long, beginning on January 28th. And during that time, people hopefully make pledges at different levels, and we have fun rewards, little gifts that we send people who make pledges. But if you don't get your fundraising goal by the time the campaign ends, then none of the pledges are redeemed, and no money changes hands. So we were very careful in thinking about that $500,000. We were tempted to go for less, but we committed to doing a quality production and being able to accomplish what we're promising to do. And what we're promising to do, first and foremost, is to recruit some of the best investigators out there, paranormal investigators, but also mainstream electronic engineers and forensic speech people like, for example, maybe from an MIT or from a jet propulsion laboratory, people who normally wouldn't be caught dead, if you'll pardon the expression, with something like this. But we're hoping that we're going to allocate at least half of what we raise to hiring these people as consultants. And we'll make it clear that we understand that many of them are very skeptical about it, and they'll be sort of being dragged, kicking and screaming, and we'll make it very clear, but they'll have a lot of control over the design of the experiment. And if we get those kinds of people involved who've never really been involved on a large-scale basis in this kind of investigation, and with the kinds of controlled conditions that they themselves design, we're then getting Class A EVPs or images that really look like people and responsive answers to questions. Well, then you've got something that's truly a paradigm-shifting event. And so that's why, as hard as it may be, we went with a $500,000 figure. We'll barely scrape by, but we think we can do it with that.
That's interesting. I mean, it kind of sucks that, if you don't reach that goal, because, I mean, say you made, $475,000 in pledges, and you still needed that list, but you just don't get any of it, because that's kind of, like, all of that hard work is kind of...
That's right.
It's interesting how that all works, because I know that there are some places that some sites that you can go to and you can, raise whatever you want, and once those donations have been made, they're there. That you redeem it and it just starts building. And so, that's what you have to work with no matter what. But it is interesting because it does show that, people, that how serious you are about this, and that, hey, if people, aren't going to, aren't interested and don't show the, the interest, that kind of, can tell you something too. But if you do get a large, say you get a large amount of people who are interested and they are donating, but you don't reach that 500,000, or if you're just shy of that, like, are you just going to dump the project, or would you, maybe do restart another fundraiser with a smaller amount, or like, how would you work with that?
That's really a great question. And obviously we're going into this very optimistically, and we've been buoyed by the support of people that we're beginning to contact on Facebook and other resources, and people like you who are kindly putting out the word for us. Because we think as you know, there are just millions of people out there who are interested in the paranormal and this kind of topic. And if we can just get a few thousand of them to kick in, whatever they feel is appropriate, we actually can raise the money. But if we don't, I think life will go on. I have to say that doing this type of project is probably the only thing on my bucket list. And as you noted at the beginning, like a lot of producers, I produce things part-time, and I'm a full-time executive recruiter, and I'm also a lawyer. But producing this type of experiment on EVP and ITC and getting it documented, preferably in the kind of television show we've outlined, is the one thing that I intend to accomplish. So if the Kickstarter campaign doesn't work, we will find another way. Perhaps just by all of the attention that's coming to it, we'll get our funding another way, or as you pointed out, perhaps we'll do Kickstarter again. People have done repeat Kickstarter campaigns, or, as you've pointed out, there are other crowdfunding platforms that have different rules. We decided to do Kickstarter because it's the oldest and best known of all of the crowdfunding platforms, and like you said, I couldn't have said it any better, the committing to their all or nothing approach shows the commitment and devotion of the person bringing the project. And I think people get involved in the excitement of that. So again, we're hoping to succeed, but I think somehow destiny will take control and we'll get this produced one way or the other.
Well, I believe so as well, because I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I had been approached by another producer back, I don't know, last year, a year and a half ago, somewhere around there, and, asked me for my help of, getting paranormal teams together for this series he was going to do on the network and all this kind of stuff, and I put it out there, and oh my God, like within the first week, he had like 200 people submit application, and it was going so quickly that he couldn't even keep up on the people. And then he just kind of got wrapped up into other things, and he just kind of faded away out of nowhere. And, all these people then were then coming back to me saying, oh, yeah, what's this person that, you told us to go and send all this stuff, and now they're not responding. And I was like, oh, great, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. But I would tell you that when, you contacted me, I really go off of kind of like how the sense that I get. When I, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know, let me think about it. And I thought, gosh, I'm so intrigued by the whole, EVPs and what we're getting, that I was like, I've been having all these shows about EVPs and everything, and I thought, okay, this is the sign. I think I need to work with this. And then when I talk to you, like the passion behind it that you have is just so incredible. So I really stand behind you, which is, again, why I kind of, said, okay, I'm here and I'll help however I can. But, I'm very passionate about this as well, and especially something that's going to be put forward, that's something new and something more than for just entertainment, that it actually does have some kind of, facts, basis, some evidence, stuff to really stand behind what the show is about. And to me, that's really what is important, because there's lots of people that realize that the paranormal exists, but, it's that actual evidence that, people really go for. And especially with EVPs, if you can understand them, and which I think is a great way where you want to get a lot of, different type of people, that are working at that way. You can kind of get rid of all the background stuff and collect the Class A EVPs, because there's sometimes so many times these shows will put on these EVPs and it'll, they'll do the little sound bite of the EVP, and it's so garbled you can't hear anything, and like everybody thinks it says something different, but it's always like, I'm going to kill you, devil's coming, it's always crazy stuff. And then you listen to it, and I mean, like literally I would take it like reverse and like listen again. I'm like, that does not say that. Like, where the hell did they come up with just to say that? So, to really work on the EVP phenomena, I think is great, because we really do have some pioneers in the field that are really got some great programs and software together that are working amazing to bring some very, very clear EVPs to us, for sure.
Absolutely, and it does seem to me from the research that I've done in the area that there are certain people that seem to be better at producing EVPs, voices, or images than others. Maybe it's from practice, or maybe it could be some sort of a psychic ability, perhaps, but they do that. And so a combination, hopefully, of using people like that and the tested methods and procedures and equipment that you talked about, the software, the recording equipment, the computer analysis, hopefully we will have some Class A EVPs, because I agree with you, is where a lot of skeptics get a lot of support are these really poor quality recordings that people think are EVPs. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but it's just not convincing. But I think all of us who who gravitate towards EVP and ITC, we've heard and we've seen examples that just seem beyond an accident or beyond misinterpretation. Some voices are absolutely clear, and if it's someone saying a name and everybody can hear the name, well, then you have to decide what caused that phenomenon. Could it be perhaps intercepting accidentally a CB radio or TV or radio signals? Or could it be just some sound and it just happens to sound like that? Could it be, if it's an old-fashioned tape, something that was already in the machine? And that by putting these controls in place, if you get a combination of something like a Class A, either a sound recording or an image, plus absolute controls that show that it could not be an accidental recording of something else and it's not fraud, well, then you've really got something. And as you said, what it comes down to is evidence. And if it's evidence, as I mentioned, I'm a former trial attorney. I've done 40 trials, 40 jury trials. And so I approach this to a certain extent from a little bit of a skeptical standpoint. I really want evidence that might stand up in court. And if we get that level of quality investigation and we get those kinds of results, well, then I do think we're going to have something that you're going to see on the top of the hour on CNN, Fox, and all of the newspapers, and that's what we're hoping for.
I love having an attorney involved in all of this, being an attorney's mind, because, to want that burden of proof, which is, in any kind of court, that's what you have to have. So I love that you're coming, with us with that ideology, saying, I want to make sure that, this is something that will stand up. If it had to go in front of a bunch of people that, there's enough evidence behind it to substantiate what we're saying. So I love that. Now, why don't you give us a little bit of an example of maybe some of the donation amounts that people can pledge and what they will get for those amounts?
Oh, absolutely. And we're actually still revising the rewards that we're going to be offering. So it's actually all going to be done by 9 days from now, from January 28th. But the smallest donation will probably be as little as $3. Believe it or not, some people give as little as that. We'll probably have 10, 25, 50, 100. 500, 1,000. The largest donation that a single person can give in a Kickstarter campaign is just a little bit below $10,000, so like $9,800. Although a person can come back with a different credit card or a different email address and make another donation. And then I'll get to the rewards in just a second. But what the Kickstarter folks tell us is that the average donation comes out to about $75 for most people. But many people do more than that, maybe a couple hundred. Some people do less. And so what that means in our case with trying to raise $500,000 is that we need to engage at least 6,700 people, 7,000 people. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but here you go. I mean, you reach 90,000 people. And they're all people who are very interested in this subject. And if we can engage just a percentage of that, I think we'll be in good shape. Now, as far as the prizes that, what I call them prizes, they're, I guess, formally called rewards, there'll be things like, for example, we'll have a downloadable song, a really nice song at one of the lower levels. We'll have an email message from the producer at the lower levels. But then getting higher, we're going to have a book about famous gravestones around the country, signed by the author. We're going to have a copy of my prior mini-documentary, which was called Breaking the Barrier about EVP. That will be available for a reward with a DVD signed by me or a download, depending on how people want to go. I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but a lot of campaigns on Kickstarter do have T-shirts and mugs and things. We will have that type of thing. It's just fun, and it'll have the logo of the Afterlife Files on it, so we will have that. And then up to the upper levels, people who make donations in the hundreds or even the thousands will have associate producer credits available. Absolutely. Or let's say people want someone remembered, a lost loved one remembered. We'll list their credits. We'll list their names after the first episode for a certain kind of donation. And at the really upper levels, we're going to have, once we have the series has started and we have our first episode done, our pilot done, we will have a premiere party. And we will be giving tickets to the premiere party for those who are at the very top of the contribution chain. And then there will also be times for people who want to pitch ideas to the producers. That'll be available. Visits to the set. Certain private video reports about how the production is going. So there'll be a variety of different things, both things you can actually put on your desk and have fun with or wear, but also things that you can actually do, things that you can see, special access to the production, so that people will be able to get involved on a variety of levels and hopefully have a lot of fun at the same time.
Absolutely. Now, where will people find the Kickstarter link? And I know that I have it, and I will actually be putting it out on my pages as well and across social media. So there'll be a lot of people that will be able to find it. If they can't find it anywhere, they'll be able to find it either on my pages or my show pages. We'll put it there. But for anybody who's going to be looking at, what would they look for at Kickstarter?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking. What they'll do is, as of January 28th, and the campaign will go live at 12:01 in the morning on January 28th, people could just go to Kickstarter.com. That's www.kickstarter.com. And I think they could just do a search for Afterlife Files. And it should come right up. Now, there is a link that I know you have that you'll be putting out. That's actually a link to the preview page, which is it's still in draft, but it's pretty much in its final form. Like I said, the rewards may change a little bit between now and the 28th, but people are welcome to look at that. And the first thing I would suggest they look at is our trailer. That's our main. That's the main thing that really tells people what the story is about. It's 8 minutes long, a little longer than most Kickstarter trailers, but there was a lot that we really wanted to say and a lot of information, and it's about the time it takes to order a sandwich at Subway. So we think that if people are interested in the material, they'll find it interesting and then read on. And some people have actually already tried to make donations, which we really appreciate. But until the site goes live on the 28th, it's actually not possible. But as of the 28th, people can go on. Hopefully, they'll be telling their friends, their acquaintances, people at the gym, because the only way that we will be able to succeed is if this project goes viral. It's sort of a power of the people kind of thing. And if it's the power of the people who believe in paranormal, I don't want to put another P in there because I'll probably screw it up. Then I think we will get over the finish line, and we may be able to go into production as early as April after our 40-day period is done.
Well, that is amazing. I myself am looking forward to working with you and helping in this project. I'm very passionate about this, and I think that it's going to be just an amazing series. So I will actually put out the link, and I will be kind of doing a countdown on my page up to that point when it goes live. What I would ask for all of my listeners to do is go to my page, go to the Paranormal Connections page, Facebook page, or actually a Para Connection Twitter link. Any of them, I'll have it up on all of the different pages. Take that and just share it. Share it in all your groups. I think I'm in over 300 groups, so I'm going to put it in every paranormal group I can find. But for those that I'm not in, please make sure to share them in those groups as well as on your own pages off of my page. And let's really get behind Todd and get him, this funding. Because, again, in the paranormal field, we've all pulled together. I've had hundreds and people that have come on this show and talked about how they wish that there was, a series like this and somebody was going to do something like this, and here's our chance. Here it is. Now, the one other thing, I know you said that you're going to be working with a lot of people in the paranormal. Now, are you just kind of choosing those people randomly, or are you going to have different teams contact you? Like, how is that part going to work?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that I'm going to be very actively involved in that, but I do think that there's sort of a core group that I think that I'll be depending on that'll help me choose people. But it'll be both subjective and objective, because I'm going to be looking for people who have a lot of experience in the field, who have certain refined techniques for doing EVPs, and who I think will work well or constructively with other people. It's not going to be easy because there are so many experienced paranormal investigators. But I would like to have a dilemma like that of having too much talent available and having to choose. So if that's our dilemma, we'll somehow figure a way to deal with it. And
figure that one out.
That's right. Too much is a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it is like good to have like a core team to kind of help you through this, especially because this field is huge. Like, people don't even understand how massive the paranormal field is of people who are in this field. And, I would probably say up in probably the 100,000 area. So there's a lot of people out there, and and there's not a lot of people in this field, unfortunately, that work well together. It's
right.
sad, but it's true. Like, everybody's, so into being a star, their own star, that they, have forgotten that this is a field of people with similar interests working together to bring forward evidence. And so I think it is important that you have a group that can work well with others and is open to all of that, and, different people's opinions and ways they do things. Because, I learn new things, and I've been in this, my whole life. But I mean, I learn new things all the time with new, ways to do things and new technology. So I think that it's something that you definitely have to keep in perspective when you're looking to bring a bunch of investigators together, because unfortunately this field is full of drama.
Yeah, well, I think it's because people are passionate about it, but I do think that people are going to have to collaborate, but I do also think that there will be some pretty active disagreements, which is okay.
Yeah.
The fact you want that because you want different views to be exchanged, and the producer side of me says, well, that's actually going to be interesting TV too. So
yes.
I think we're going to get the best of both worlds with this.
Well, I do too. And we're coming to the end of the show. I thank you so much. I know it's just a short amount of time, but we'll definitely have you on after the Kickstarter campaign starts. We'll have you somewhere in the beginning of February, so we can have you back on, and we'll talk about, the success and what we need to do to still help. And like I said, I will start getting that stuff out there. And again, for all my listeners, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And please make sure to share those links, and let's, make this something that really is able to come to fruition and people can really get some benefit out of. So
thank you
with that
so much
being
for
said,
having me. Yes,
you're so very welcome. I'll have you on again soon. I know we'll be talking, soon, working closely together. So we'll talk soon, and thank you very much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, everybody, that's the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We'll be back again next week with another very interesting topic. And we are looking for new topics and new guests that want to come on the show this year. So if you're interested, feel free to join. Check out the Facebook page, like us, and check out the Twitter as a friend. We will talk to you next week. Good night, everybody. Have a great night.